Tatiana Tsoir is a CPA. She is an MBA. She's a business turnaround expert, an M&A advisor, a tax strategist, a speaker, and an author. Welcome back to the show, Tatiana.
George, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you back on. Tell us a little about your personal life, some more about your work, and why you're doing what you are doing.
Personal life, I enjoy family, enjoy travel with family. I actually like my family, so I don't travel a lot in terms of work. Just try to stay away from conferences and things like that. But people ask me like, why don't you come to this conference or that conference or this or that? And I just say, I actually like my family. I like to spend time with them. As simple as it sounds, and as direct as it sounds, I guess. My career, my work has been very meaningful because when I started back in 2004, 5, I really enjoyed accounting. Actually, at first I didn't enjoy accounting because I wanted to be an attorney, but when I started being good at accounting and I saw how much opportunity there is, I was also working as a bookkeeper and then learning accounting 101, which is basically bookkeeping. I really, to me, it was an instant connection between theory and practice. And I think that's what really changed everything for me because I could see theory applied in everyday life and how that affects our lives and our businesses and all of those things and our ability to make money and ability to have a good life that we really want. So I've been telling people for a long time that really accounting is the best profession. People would laugh at me, but they would laugh at me and I would say, it's true. It's true because even if you're a doctor, even if you're a coach, a construction worker, if you don't know numbers, it's a problem. People can take advantage of you. I've worked in two different companies where two different people were stealing, things like that. And medical professionals are known to really not manage their money well. On the surface, it looks all glamorous and things like that. So I really see accounting and bookkeeping being this cornerstone of every business and life because money allows us to have the life we want. It's not all about money, but money plays a very important role. And if you count it or don't count it, it's a problem.
No doubt about that. And so you have more so than just your appreciation for it. You've created a program to help others get into it.
Yeah, I've always been passionate about it because I found, um, when you're an early parent, I don't know what to call it, like a young parent, an early parent, like when your kids are still little, at least my experience has been a lot of moms' experience that I've talked to has been that you're kind of living in this Groundhog Day every day. It's wake up or wake up in the middle of the night a few times, feed, change diaper, sleep, nap, whatever, and then repeat every day for a number of years. And so I found that work, especially work that's meaningful, when I see the result, when I see what I do for clients, how that affects their business and lives. That meaningful work was my only anchor, if you will. It's something that really, I would say, held my psyche together over those early kids' years. And I definitely feel like I've lost myself for about 3 years each time. I have two kids. And really, after my youngest was 3, I started to see how much I've lost myself and how much I have become so focused on the kids, which I don't regret, but at the same time, I wish I had seen that earlier. um, that I lost focus on who I was. And so accounting and bookkeeping has really been, even though I worked probably 10, 15 hours a month, at that time, it really held me together. It really provided me with that anchor, that adult conversation, that get out of Groundhog Day card, if you will. And so this year, I mean, I've had this project in mind for many years, but I haven't found the forum to do it because the course that I've created in 2020, I think, I launched it. I mean, I started in 2019 and I finished it in 2020. That course is a solid foundational course for bookkeepers. And the reason I started it to kind of go back a little bit in time was because as a CPA, I needed to delegate. I needed to have people doing some of the day-to-day work. And what I found was that there are very few really good bookkeepers. And the reason is very simple. You don't need a degree. You don't need to go to college for it. You can just learn the software and do it. But the problem is that the modern day software like QuickBooks, Xero, whatever, what it does is it doesn't teach you to be a bookkeeper. It teaches you to be a software user. And people
Hmm.
have this false confidence that there are now bookkeepers, but they're not. And so what I found is that I can delegate just based on resume. Somebody says, I'm a bookkeeper, I can freelance for you and stuff like that. I can't delegate if I can be confident because quality is very high. Like I have a very high standard of quality. I mean, to put things in perspective, I haven't actually seen books done up to my standards for prospective clients. I haven't actually seen that. And so there's always something. And so I found that I can't hire like that. I can't delegate. I can't get help unless I train them. And so I started training. I created a course in a manner that I've had the experience learning bookkeeping. So theory plus practice, examples, additional Siri just turned on on my phone. Additional practice tests, examples from real life. And so I've incorporated all of that into the course. And so I've had probably 40, 50 people to date buy the course on their own. Some of them found jobs after that. Some of them started their own businesses and are thriving and building their businesses. Some of them, like my sister, she pushed back as much as she could in accounting, but she said, she used to say that she's a creative, which she is, she's a photographer and she's pretty good. And then when she needed to make money to pay bills, she chose bookkeeping because what she realized was that photography is great, but if you really want to make money with photography, you have to give up your weekends, which is completely not aligning with what she wanted to do, and the mom that she wanted to be. So she started, doing bookkeeping, never took my course, but that's another conversation. She's a younger sister, you probably can tell. And so like she's a great example of that, right? So I created that course and I've had people go through it. And this year, what I've realized was that I love giving back. And I always mentor people who are going to the field of accounting. And I don't know if you know the context, but as of 7-8 years ago, about 75% of tax preparers were over the age of 65. So we're looking at today, probably 75% of tax preparers who are still in the workforce, hopefully, are over the age of 73, roughly 72, 73, right? So in the accounting enrollment in colleges has been falling because the new generation doesn't want to work like that. They don't want to work for the resume. They don't want to work 24/7. And I can't blame them. They're putting life first. And again, I can't blame them. So what I've realized was that there are four areas. All of us support causes that really speak to us. So for me, creating better bookkeeping in the United States, right? Because the laws, bookkeeping laws, debit and credit is the same everywhere, but we serve a US population and businesses. And so I just realized that it's in my power to create better bookkeeping across the board for everyone, because the stuff that I see that comes in from prospective clients, future clients, is just awful. So I wanted to raise the bar. And I thought, what better way to raise the bar for small businesses in bookkeeping than to give the ability to those who need it most, learn how to do it and do it well so that they can build businesses or just pay their bills or have it as a side hustle, whatever the reason, or maybe do motherhood full time and have a little escape from the Groundhog Day for themselves. And so we started this project called the Bookkeeper Project in May. We launched it in May. And the idea is that we are providing free education. It's by application, and as we get funding, we basically award scholarships and people go through the training, which I lead. So it's not just a pre-recorded training, it's cohort based, it's involved, it's weekly meetings, actually twice a week and things like that. So it's very involved, and we're targeting 4 groups of people. One is teens, because teens are our future, and I want to show them that there is fun behind accounting, that there is a skill behind accounting that they can use. Even if they become an engineer or a doctor, they can still use that skill because they can build their business. And we all know that United States was built on small business. The tax code is geared to small business. So teens, moms, because I believe that moms, a lot of moms, when they become mothers, they rediscover themselves, or they're no longer passionate for the career they used to have, and they just don't want to do it anymore, or maybe they didn't have a career or passion before that, and so they're starting to rediscover themselves, and they really want to make a living. Maybe it's I don't know, nails money, to get your nails done, or hair money, whatever that is. I think it's very important, and a lot of them need that little push to start getting into it. And then first generation immigrants are people who basically have to start their life from scratch, because I've been there. It was easier for me because I didn't have kids. I didn't have to, support a family. I was younger, I went to school, and so it was a lot easier for me. But a lot of people who move after they're 30 or 40, it's really hard for them. They never really become, get a real profession or whatever, a real profession. But they never really get a profession that they can really thrive in. It's more jobs that are, usually tough, physically tough, construction, waitressing, whatever that is. They're tough jobs. I've worked as a waitress for years, so I know. And so I think that if I could get them a skill, I think that they can, even if they don't build a business around it, which some of them do, some of them don't, they can still make a living, a decent living, and build a dignified retirement for themselves and their kids. And then finally, the 4th group of people that we support is abuse survivors. Having been an abuse survivor myself 20 years ago, I know what it's like. And even though I can't help those living in domestic violence situations or whatever get out of them, because usually it does require, and in my opinion, because I've been there, it requires an external intervention, but also an internal decision. We do help those who have been through that recover faster, find themselves faster, rediscover themselves faster, and get a skill that will allow them to make money and support their kids. Because if the kids are involved, it becomes a much different ballgame. When I went through something like that 20 years ago, I didn't have any children, thankfully. But imagine being connected to somebody forever, for the rest of your life because of kids, and not be able to do anything about it. And a lot of it, has to do with financial abuse and things that we've discussed. So we're supporting those 2 groups. We're accepting applications to get sponsored, to get a scholarship, free scholarship. And we're also reaching out to accounting firms, financial firms, and just small businesses who want to sponsor people. It's basically, we're making it very, very easy to sponsor, and it doesn't cost that much. So that's in a nutshell what the project is about.
Well, I think it's great. So what is it that software user versus a bookkeeper, and that you've never met anybody that is up to your standards? What is that continuum of unacceptable, terrible to passable to good from a bookkeeping standpoint?
The problem, and the reason why I started, this whole course and everything, the problem with those software users is they typically don't know the foundations of accounting. You have to know the basic accounting equation. You have to know the debits and credits. You have to know the normal balances on the balance sheet. You have to understand the financial statements. Then it's how you use the software. And then at that point, once you know the foundation, the software doesn't matter. You can use QuickBooks, you can use Xero, you can use Zoho, you can use, whatever you want. And so I don't know why, is that me? I think it's me, but I don't know. I hope it's not. It looks like my connection is going in and out, but I hope it's not.
It's all good.
Okay. So that's kind of the idea. So They're missing the foundations, and the problems start when they start downloading transactions, creating new accounts, and that spectrum is pretty significant. Like many years ago, remember I said that I've worked in two businesses where somebody was stealing. If you're doing your bookkeeping properly, if it's properly done by a professional that knows what they're doing, that should be uncovered within a month for happening first. The situations where I worked, the fraud has been happening probably for at least 2-3 years before it was caught. Two different approaches, two different people, and the people you would suspect the least, and that's the probably the worst part. And so it's more than just fraud detection, right? It's also, I've seen situations where bad bookkeeping would cost people $50,000-$60,000 a year in tax because the bookkeeper doesn't know, the CPA doesn't look, because CPAs for traditional firms, they don't have the time to look at 300-400 clients' books to prepare their taxes in a 2-month period. It's just not possible. And so it's typical for traditional CPAs who work with the volume of clients and who focus on the volume. It's very typical for them to miss things. And it's costing client not only money in tax, it's costing them potential penalties and interest, and it's also costing them potential audits. And so good bookkeeping covers all of those things, because when your books are done right, you fly through an audit. And I've certainly had that with clients where they just flew through an audit, was a no change, nothing. And so that's kind of, that spectrum is pretty bad. The biggest issue is that I see is that bookkeeping mistakes take years to get discovered. Sometimes they're never discovered. And I know because I was a starting out bookkeeper, 20 years ago. I remember when as I was learning in college, I was learning the accounting principles and going through accounting 101, 102, 201, whatever that was. I was like, oh my God, I was like screwing up this thing. I need to go and fix it if the client is still my client, So I know I've been there and I know what it's like. And of course, people say that I'm an accountant, and because of that, I know bookkeeping so well, but bookkeeping is the foundation of accounting. And so that's what I teach in the course. They don't need to become accountants to be great bookkeepers, but they need to know the foundations. And that's where, well, that's what all of it comes down to, really.
It makes sense why why this is a great opportunity for everything that you've laid out. And I think that there's probably people that have found themselves in the situations that you've described that have extremely high intellects and people that have average intellects. What does it take to be able to do this? If I'm listening to this and I'm thinking about somebody, or I'm thinking about it for myself, and then a little bit of doubt creeps in that I don't have a high educational background potentially, or I've never done this. What do you say to that?
There is an old meme where somebody is standing by the blackboard and writing calculus, and it says what people think accountants do, or the level of math that accountants need is like calculus. And then what we actually need is like algebra, 1 + 2 equals 3 kind of thing. So you don't have to have any education. If I teach you the basics, the foundations, and you do the exercises, you do the practice tests, you do the quizzes and the things that I've built in, and you show up and you ask questions, I teach people to learn better also. Then you don't really need to have anything. You don't need to know math. And that's a common misperception with accounting and bookkeeping, that you need to be good at math. Not at all. Computer's doing all the math. And so you need to know kind of the basics and be able to learn and have an open mind. That's probably the most important thing.
Love it. Well, Tatiana, thank you so much for putting the Bookkeeper project together and for coming on to talk about it. Where can people learn more, and how can they get enrolled and take advantage?
So if you're looking to just buy it, if you don't need sponsorship, because sponsorships happen in chunks, right? So build a cohort, we accept applications, we get the funding for that cohort. And then, because I need to, we need to pay the admin people, the dean of students, and everything else to kind of monitor and help people make the best of it. So typically, if you want that, then you can apply at the website. It's basically the nonprofit, the charitable nonprofit is called Society for Financial Independence. And so the website is the short version of that. It's SOF and then find.org. So double F in the middle, kind of SOF find.org. And you can learn more about the project. You can find the applications there and apply in one of the groups. If you're looking to just buy it and learn it, you can just go to TatianaTsoir.com and you will see the learning tab there, and you can take a look at all of the programs.
Excellent. Well, if you enjoyed as much as I did, show Tatiana your appreciation and share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to or learn more about the Bookkeeper Project at soffind.org. And then if you're just interested in buying the course or learning more about Tatiana and the rest of her work, go to TatianaTsoir.com. That's TatianaTsoir.com. Thanks again, Tatiana.
Thank you.
Until next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.